Hi everyone, Emily here from Logistics for Designers, and today we're going to review how to track tax paid purchases to the vendor. So how do I track that paid sales tax that I already purchased at the point of sale? This will happen if a vendor will not take your resale license and will not give you that tax exemption. So as always, we will still collect the sales tax from the client. So here's my proposal. Here's the item. I have an armchair. I'm purchasing 2 of them from IKEA, and they are charging me sales tax. In this case, I'm not paying for shipping because I'm picking up the item. And then here I want to select total selling cost. If you use markup, we have found discrepancies in the reporting in QuickBooks. So to make sure everything's clean and maps over correctly, please select total selling cost. Nothing will change on the proposal. I'm still charging my client as is. Nothing will change on the proposal or the invoice. Instead, we're going to track that tax paid purchase on the purchase order. So the project that I have here currently for Catherine is on Canyon Road in Los Angeles. So I'm going to use the Los Angeles sales tax rate. Even if I did purchase this in a different location, I need to charge the client the final destination of the item. So the project's in Los Angeles, I need to use that Los Angeles sales tax rate. So I will save my proposal. If you see a gray button, make sure you sync it over so that it shows up in QuickBooks. You always want to have those green buttons. It will save your bookkeeper a lot of time and it will sync over automatically. I sent this to my client. They mailed me a check. I'm going to record that check, 1949.10. I'm going to put in my check number. The date I deposited the check, that's today. And again, you'll see in some of our other videos why it's so important to add a payment onto a proposal. Immediately after I get payment, I will start my invoice. I will save my invoice. And this is the point now that I have the funds, now that I've gotten the check's cleared, now I can start to do my ordering. I'm going to create my purchase order. It's from IKEA. I didn't pay shipping, so I'm going to press continue. And now it's time to edit my purchase order. I need my purchase order to match to the amount that hits my statement, that hits my bank activity. That is the exact amount that I was charged. So for example, on this one here, the total so far on my purchase order is $1,780, $1,780. But since I paid sales tax, this will never match my bank activity. So what I have to do is I now have to mark off the item as taxable on the purchase order. Think of purchase orders as your cost, as the business cost. Proposals and invoices are client-facing, purchase orders are vendor-facing, are your purchases from the business, your cost. So in this case, I purchased it in a different area. So I actually purchased it in Orange County. So I'm going to make sure I have that Orange County rate up. And in California, the agency is always the CDTFA. So that might vary if you're located in a different state. And then the rate here is 7.75. So we're going to add that in. So I purchased the item in a different area, in a different county with a different sales tax rate due to the fact that they were out of stock in Los Angeles. So my receipt is going to say 7.75. So you always want the purchase order to match your cost and what's on your receipt. And the no shipping, I purchased 2. So now there's 2 options. You can either mark off the item as taxable, right? And then you'll notice as soon as I click that little button, it adds the $137.95 in paid sales tax and increases my total. So I would just verify these numbers on your receipt to make sure that that's accurate. And if your mapping set up correctly, this paid sales tax will map out to a separate account so that it can be a deduction on your sales tax liability or your sales tax filing. Now, what I've noticed from feedback from our designers is that there's sometimes a rounding issue. So if that happens, we've actually created a service as a workaround that will map to the same category. So let's say for some reason, this does not match my receipt, and my receipt is really 137.96. So what we have to do is we have to unselect this, and we have to add another line item. And we're going to go to services, because a wonderful thing to remember about Ivy is that products are always going to be your product library, your product clipper, merchandise, product, actual tangible goods that you're reselling. Services are anything else. We can manipulate your mapping to really create categories that will map over to QuickBooks and your chart of accounts. So in this case, I'm going to use tax paid purchases. You might have something titled a little bit differently, tax paid to vendor. I've seen such variances, but just make sure that this category in your services is mapped over to the right category and in your mapping to the right account. So here I'm going to add, what did we say? 137.95 is what was syncing here, if I mark this off as taxable, but it's really 196, right? So now I have to add it as a line item so that it matches my total receipt. So that's the second way to do it. You can either add it as a line item from your service library, or you can mark off the item as taxable. Either one, both options, if your mapping is set up correctly, both will work. So I'm going to use this purchase order as a reference while I order the item. Once I order the item, I'm going to mark off the purchase order as paid. I paid with my credit card, my AMX. I'm going to put my initials. I purchased it today, and then the amount that shows up on my receipt is the one with the 0.96. Then the most important thing, if you want the bill and the bill payment to sync over to QuickBooks, you need to select the top option. If I'm just selecting create bill only, you're just going to have a bunch of open bills, and you're going to have to manually close them out on the QBO side, which takes additional time on your end or your bookkeeper's end. So please select create bill and bill payments. So now I create my payment. There it goes. Again, it's green. We know it's going to show up in QuickBooks if this total matches your bank activity. So that's two different ways you can track paid sales tax. Now, the third way, which you don't have to edit your purchase orders, all of our designers, we use an accounting log as a central hub for communication. And what you would do is you would most likely have a tab. Some of our designers choose to do it this way. You would have a tab where you can list all your tax paid purchases. The most important information that we need to know is we need to know the date, so we can know which quarter or year to track that deduction in. We need to know the vendor. We need to know the total amount paid. And out of that total amount paid, what portion of those funds went to tax paid purchases. And then what's the sales tax rate? And then any other notes that might be helpful to you or your bookkeeper can be listed there. And then let's just say throughout the rest of the quarter, we have all these different charges. So the end of quarter one comes up, your bookkeeper comes in here, adds up the total of tax paid purchases. And then when we file through your state's portal, we'll actually apply this as a deduction so that you're not paying double sales tax, so that you're not collecting sales tax, paying it to the vendor, and then paying it again on your sales tax liability reports, because it will show up as collected on your sales tax liability reports in Ivy and in QuickBooks. Now we need to reduce that liability by the amount paid. And that's where this comes in. If you decide to do the tax paid purchase as a line item or mark the purchase order office taxable, these categories will map over to QuickBooks, and we can track the total sales tax paid from your P&L. So that's another option as well. So both of those options work great. I will just let you know that if you use either one of these methods, please keep your receipt. The nice thing about using the purchase order tracking is that you can actually add an attachment of your receipt right here. So you do have the receipts all in one area, all in Ivy, which is absolutely wonderful. If you have them here, just make sure you keep a copy because as many of you will know from your bank statements, you do not have the breakdown of what's sales tax from that total amount due. So should there be an audit, it's nice to have that breakdown. Okay, that's it. Feel free to email us at hello@logistis.design. Logistis is spelled LOGISTIS.design. So if you ever have questions on sales tax, on paid sales tax, feel free to reach out to us. I know it can be kind of one of those confusing, complex things for designers, but it's absolutely wonderful with the integration from Ivy to QuickBooks that you can track things like paid sales tax, which end up saving your firm money and not having to overpay sales tax. Thank you. Have a good rest of your day. Bye.